First on News 2 at 6 o'clock, this convicted sex offender charged with 49 counts, but convicted of 4 of those is getting ready to get a shot at freedom. Good evening. He molested little boys in 2 states, and this week the parole board will decide whether to set him free.
Todd Michael Duquette still has 19 years left on his sentence. As Chief Investigator Chris Nakamoto reports, victims' families demanding the parole board do the right thing.
That's right. They don't want Duquette released. Court records show he already had 1 shot to do things right, and when he moved to Texas, he was convicted of indecency with a 10-year-old. In addition to the family's concerns, criminologists say you can't break the habits of pedophiles. Pedophile Todd Michael Duquette is serving time at Angola for what he did to Brandy Melissa's 2 brothers back in the 90s. She says Duquette molested them.
He's all messed up in the head.
She was shocked to learn he'll get a chance at freedom this week.
He's already proven that he can't keep his body parts to himself. He was given a chance when he first got charged to go to rehab and not, register as a sex offender, which he refused to do.
In 1994, Duquette was convicted. Stemming from sex acts he performed on 5 boys between the ages of 8 and 12. He was charged with 49 counts, but pled guilty to 4 of them. A judge suspended his sentence, and Duquette moved to Texas. That's where this mugshot comes in. He got caught with a 10-year-old over there.
I have to address the parole board.
Melissa isn't so sure Duquette can be rehabilitated.
He's already proven that he can't be.
They're going after 10-year-olds.
Yes. LSU criminologist Dr. Ed Shahada says in general, sex offenders have the highest rate of reoffending, more than any other convict.
In the case of pedophiles, it appears to be a unique aspect of their sexual identity, of their sexual personality, and it's hardwired.
Documents obtained by the WBRZ investigative unit show the state claims he's been a model prisoner, completing various classes and taking sex offender treatment programs.
And what's going to fix it?
Shahada says, generally speaking, that can't fix someone's urges.
You can't change your sexuality. No prison course is going to change your sexual preferences. It's something that is a unique personality disposition that tends to reassert itself throughout your life.
It's why Melissa is pleading with the parole board to make the right decision. As she says, one of her brothers tried to kill himself some decades ago as a result of the abuse. She had this message for the parole board.
You need to think twice and consider that it could be your child or somebody you love.
We reached out to the Department of Corrections. A spokesperson said Duquette is eligible for good time as a sex offender. Even though he has 19 years left of his sentence, he's scheduled to get out in 2 years due to his good time. They reiterated over the phone that he completed numerous classes and a sex offender treatment program and said the decision will ultimately be up to the board. Duquette is scheduled to go before the parole board Thursday. A convicted pedophile won't be getting out of prison anytime soon after a parole board heard emotional pleas by the victim's family. The investigative unit highlighted the case earlier this week. News 2's Brandy B. Harris was at the hearing today, and it had a surprise outburst by the convict. Brandy?
That's right, Chris. The room was totally stunned when Todd Michael Duquette responded to the victim's statements, saying it was all, quote, totally false. Duquette was originally convicted of preying on 5 young boys. Tonight, while he's still in denial, a family is relieved he's still in prison.
I knew I had to do this because if he would have been granted, we'd be having future victims and having this conversation again.
Brandy Melissa stood up at a parole hearing to make sure convicted pedophile Todd Michael Duquette remains in prison for molesting children between the ages of 8 and 12 back in the 90s, including her 2 brothers.
I knew I had the courage to do it, but because his other victims couldn't be here.
After his original 30-year sentence was suspended, he moved to Texas, where he was picked up again in 1998, this time with a 10-year-old. His parole was revoked, and he was brought back to Louisiana to complete his original sentence. His victims didn't even know he had a chance to get out, but the district attorney's office has been reaching out and giving them an opportunity to be heard.
But they, of course, were passionate about wanting their voices heard and this man not being able to harm any more children.
And Duquette responded to his victims and their statements during the hearing by saying it was all, quote, totally false.
This man has, since the case occurred and ever since, blamed children for his predatory acts upon them.
For him, 29 years later, to be able to pronounce my name as clearly as he did and make reference to point out me out of everything that was said, that proves his guilt.
Now, Duquette was unanimously denied parole. His full sentence won't be complete until 2037, but the Department of Corrections says Duquette is expected to be released in just 2 years due to good time. Chris?